Welcome to the Channeling Spirit Virtual Summit, a platform where we have invited Spirit to share messages, healings, and transmissions with all of us. May this energetic experience help us to expand our awareness and to deepen the relationship we have with our higher self, our spiritual team, and with Source, however we define them. Thank you for being here and for taking part in this amazing journey. Hello and welcome back to the Channeling Spirit Virtual Summit. This is the closing ceremony, Season 7. My name again is Daniel Martinez Stahl. Sorry. Season 7 has been incredible. It's been amazing. Usually, for those people that are familiar with me on closing ceremonies, I tend to get very emotionally overwhelmed. I don't feel that right now, which is really interesting. I don't feel that emotional overwhelm of gratitude and that just washes over me. I can feel that it's there, but I'm not feeling that emotional overwhelm. And I think that the reason that this is happening is so that I can actually connect and channel effectively. So I might get the overwhelm afterwards. So we'll see what happens. But nonetheless, I cannot thank you guys enough. Both in physical form and in non-physical form, or in physical form and in energetic form. However, whatever space and whatever dimension you are playing at, and you are part of this project, it is an honor to be allowed the opportunity to share this with you guys and to create a space where we can all experiment and play and go beyond our understanding of what it means to be alive as a human form, as spirit within human, and as human within spirit. A lot of the messages that I've been, let me kind of back up a little bit. I haven't taken Shannon off because at some point I might just go and and she will start facilitating my journey. And so I haven't taken her off on purpose. And so a lot of the messages that I've been talking about for last few months is about this redefinition of what it means to exist on Earth. We are reprogramming ourselves away from what we have been taught it's like to be human, and creating new ways to exist, which is directed by our own desires, our individual desires, our own wishes, our own preferences. And this is part of the transition away from what has been and into the what is and what is becoming. And however that plays out for you, however that is coming into your experience, just recognize how powerful you are and how important you are to this change. You wouldn't be alive if it wasn't necessary for you to be here. This isn't we'll just send them down, we'll see what happens. No. This transition is so important and so valuable that everybody that is alive right now was well aware of what they were signing up for. And they are here for a reason, for a purpose. There are no stragglers in this transition. This is, again, my perspective. I haven't heard this from Spirit. This is just the way that I see it. You know, this is such a powerful time. And it is an honor to be here at this time, to be exploring and playing actively and consciously in these expansive conversations while we are allowing ourselves to expand into a great understanding of who we are. We have new bodies that are being born with less amnesia, with more gifts, with more energy capabilities than we have. You know, I talk about how those of us in our 50s and 40s and even 30s or older, you know, our bodies are being upgraded. But it's different when a body is being upgraded versus one that is a new body with all the tools and all of the capacities. You know, it's like upgrading your phone little by little so that you can have, oh, I need to have a better Wi-Fi, so let me install a better Wi-Fi into my phone. And you know, it's still like a 1980s phone, but you've kind of modified it up to modern day. And so it's all kind of like in pieces and kind of, you know, add-ons and bolt-ons and it's working beautifully and perfectly. And this is, for me, the honor of being alive for this transition is incredible. And I just want you guys to recognize that too about yourselves. I mean, the majesty and the magnificence of who you are cannot be overstated, and it cannot be overemphasized. It's impossible to recognize just how important and just how valuable each one of us is in our own way. And we are playing a role in this transition 100%. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. And so recognize that about yourself. Be proud of yourself, because it's an incredible time to be alive. Incredible time to be alive. So thank you guys for being with us for season 7. I am going to start channeling soonish. And for those of you that are going to jump off before then, thank you again for being here. I will leave you with being spirit, being human, simply being from love. Please be patient with yourself. Be compassionate with yourself. Show yourself the love that you want to see in the world, and you will begin to see it in the world. Okay. My door is open, so if I hear my mom, I might need to pop out. Okay. Mm-hmm. So Daniel hears our thoughts in his head. It makes him laugh because he begins to recognize that this isn't him. And so what we said to him was, it's about time. and so he started laughing as we are stepping forward. And there's those of you that are wondering, okay, is Daniel channeling? Yes, he is channeling. Is Daniel conscious of this experience? Yes, he is fully conscious of this experience. The way that Daniel likes to describe his channeling at the moment is that we are channeling through his consciousness. We are channeling through his awareness, not through his body. And this is a distinction that he finds is easy for people to get an understanding of the kind of channeling that he is doing, trance channeling. And so he can open his eyes and allow us to continue speaking with you, even though he is conscious of it. When he does this, he becomes more aware of himself as we are speaking, and then that separation between ourselves and him is harder for him to distinguish. And so he likes to have his eyes closed so that he can focus on our energy and the message that we are putting through to him for him to speak for us. And so there's those of you that are wondering who we are. Daniel recognizes that we are a collective of energies, and it would be difficult for us to identify exactly what collective this is. One could say that we are the collective of the event, that we are the collective of all of your higher selves, which is true, but it goes beyond that description. It is not inclusive of only that description. One could say that we are a combination of archangels and of ascended masters and of master healers. And yes, that is true as well, but yet again, that would not be exactly accurate. And so we would rather not define who we are. Daniel is recognizing the speed at which we are speaking. This is not a speed that he has normally channeled before, and so this is a new experience for him. And so, Shannon, thank you for allowing us to play with you, and we would open ourselves up to you and anybody else that is listening for whatever direction you would like us to go.
Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you being here.
It is our pleasure.
So there's been many conversations from the different speakers and from Spirit over the last couple of days with this summit. And in the closing, what would you like us to take away as maybe your final mark on the show this season?
A lot of what people need to hear, but to hear at a deeper level, is that you are perfect exactly as you are. This is a phrase that gets repeated across many different modalities and conversations, but it's also a phrase that is not recognized or understood. A lot of the conversations speak to this as a way of helping you to get to the point where you can recognize that you are exactly where you need to be. There's this concept and this idea of free will, which is true. And then there's a concept of God's will or universal will, which is true as well. But there's no distinction between the two. This is something that we would love for you to understand. The concepts and the ideas that Daniel speaks a lot about are of this idea where we are stepping into an understanding of what it means to be human, remembering and recognizing that we are aligned with and we are the energy of all that is, manifesting as Daniel and experiencing life as Daniel and creating life as Daniel. And though most of you have grown up believing that you are separate from the energy of all that is, which is a term that Daniel is comfortable with and that he enjoys using, but you can use whatever language feels more aligned with you. Yes, we are speaking of God. Yes, we are speaking of the Great Spirit. Yes, we are speaking of the beyond that exists on the outside of existence, on the outside of form, the formless that allows the form to exist. And yes, we ourselves are form, which is something that Daniel again likes to remind people. We in spirit form are still form. We are just not form in the sense of matter, in physical form. And so, yes, we are speaking of the energy that exists before the creation of form as our framework for existence. And we are all connected. We regularly tell you across all different kinds of channels and messages that we are all one. We are you and you are us. This is repeated by many of us across many of you. But again, this message isn't received. People don't reflect on what does this mean. And so what I would love for you to walk away from this conversation or walk away with from this conversation is this concept of reflect on what it means for you to exist, knowing that you are the energy of all that is. Just reflect on this understanding that whatever challenges and whatever struggles you are experiencing are perfect and are exactly right for the moment because they are leading you into a future of yourself that would not be possible had these circumstances and situations not be laid out the way that they've been laid out. And of course, this is a constant evolution. There is no end to where you are going. There is no finish line that you will ever reach. And so we are all exploring, let me rephrase that. We are focusing our conversation on the human form at the moment because this is primarily who is listening to our conversation. And I say primarily because, of course, everybody is listening to this conversation. Everybody has access to this conversation. But we are speaking primarily of what it means to be human and the experience of humanity, which has its own blueprint for existence. As Leilani was describing, your human form is different than the crystalline bodies that she is more accustomed to, and the differences within them allow for different experiences, which means that your struggles are perfect. Your struggles are exactly what you wanted. They're exactly what you were looking for when you agreed and decided, yes, I want to be reborn into human form. Or taking into account that there might be some people on this planet that have never been born, which Daniel seriously doubts, given the intensity and the propensity of the energy that is required at this time. But we will not answer that at the moment, but let's play with the idea that there might be some souls that are brand new to Earth, and this is the first time they are incarnating on Earth. If that is the case, keep in mind that they are here for a reason and for a purpose. And so, though their struggles of aligning with their challenges of humanity again serves a purpose of transmutation and transformation that's necessary for the evolution of what we are all playing with through Earth and through Gaia and through all of her inhabitants, which you guys are included in. And so we hope that we have answered the question of what would we like for you to take away? We would love for you to take away this idea that be patient with yourselves, be compassionate with yourselves, and recognize that though things might be difficult and things might be challenging, there's a broader, bigger, more expansive perspective that allows you to also recognize that challenge and that struggle from a different perspective and a different relationship. Daniel speaks a lot of the three principles. There was a wonderful conversation with Marina about some of the directions that that conversation takes people in. But there are many other conversations that take people into an understanding of humanity and of psychology and of who they are and of who they are becoming. Whatever you align with, allow yourself to recognize that as part of your journey and part of your path. You are beautiful. You are loved beyond measure. You are love itself. How could you not love yourself being yourself? And so when people think of Yeshua and Mary Magdalene, who again also had a conversation with you earlier today, they talk a lot about love, the Christ consciousness. You are the Christ consciousness. There is no separation. And if you were to think of yourself as God, would God make a mistake? Would God make an error? There are no errors. There are no mistakes. There are different paths that we live through. There are different paths that we go on. And we would love to remind you that across all of those paths, you are never alone because we are traveling that path with you. It isn't Daniel walking on earth as a single entity. Though Daniel has a vibration and a experience of being alone and solitary, what makes Daniel is actually a conglomeration of different energies, which have the perception of self. And so Daniel can never be alone because he is a team. He is a collective defined within himself. And so if you like your own company, we can say you're never alone because you're always with you, different aspects of yourself. The different lifetimes that are linked to this lifetime are with you constantly. And likewise, you are part of their experience, even if you're not aware of it within this dimension. There are some dimensions of you that are well aware of all of the different aspects of yourself. And you are stepping into an awareness where you will be more able to connect with and recognize these multidimensional aspects of yourself. But keep in mind that you are never alone. You are always in a team. This is a collaborative effort. And you are growing. We are growing. You are learning. We are learning. You are expanding. We are expanding. And wherever you are is beautiful and it's perfect. And just take some breaths. Recognize who you are at whatever level you are able to recognize in that moment, and allow yourself to see a greater perspective of your situation that will allow you to see a greater truth of who you are, that will allow you to see directions and paths that you can take that are seemingly more aligned with your own desires and your own purpose. And I say seemingly again because there are no wrong paths that you can take. There are some detours, but those detours are purposeful. Hopefully this has been a very long-winded answer to your question, my dear.
It was perfect because you answered another question in the middle of it.
Isn't
As
it
I
funny
thought
how
you
that
would.
works?
Yes,
For Daniel's
yes.
curiosity, would you be able to share that question for his own interest?
The question was going to be for those who struggle with looking internally and beginning to recognize and bring forward more of the soul self, what was the advice to help them with that? And you, in a very different way than using the question, had already brought that information forward for those that would be um, questioning or struggling in how to find that within themselves.
So Daniel is asking us to tap into himself
Mhm.
and his own journey and his own experience of struggle. And he's asking us to address this question specifically, though, yes, we have answered it, but it might not have been accurate to the question of the person that was asking the question, not specific enough. And so let us address this question specifically. Daniel has been receiving information in the last few months, and he's been speaking a lot about how this transformation that you are going through is about a redefining of process, a redefining of relationship with life. And you have been brought up into a understanding of life being a certain way, which leads to different interpretations, which leads to innocent misunderstandings, which leads to suffering or struggle or challenge. And so there are many things that one can do. Daniel is a big fan of understanding the system behind life so that that understanding allows you to have a perspective on your struggles and your suffering and your challenges so that you can see them from a higher perspective or as a behind the scenes, where as you understand how the movie is made, when the monster comes out of the corner, that monster is no longer as scary. It might still startle you and frighten you in a moment, but you very quickly understand that, oh, that monster is a representation of 12 hours of costume and makeup and digital effects and light work. And so that monster might catch your awareness momentarily, but you don't need to go into the suffering of that monster and the scary and the fear that that monster is trying to represent. And there are many modalities that will allow you to develop an understanding of who you are so that you can have a different perspective on these monsters. One thing that the council likes to recommend, which Daniel repeats regularly, is at any point in time, become conscious of your awareness. In other words, come into the present moment. Take 3 conscious breaths. And just feel into who you are. And in the doing so, it will instantly change and affect your relationship to the situation, even if it's just by a little bit. The more that you do this, the more that you see that you are an active participant in the interpretation of your experience, and it isn't just your unconscious mind interpreting and you responding accordingly. You can consciously begin to affect the models that are used to interpret life. And you can begin to take ownership and be a proactive participant in reshaping the quality of your life. It is a very empowering experience when you recognize that though you may not have consciously created the struggles, and we are not going to go in that direction, though it is true that life is presenting itself to you because you have created life to present that way accordingly, we will not go there. That is not the kind of conversation that we would like to emphasize. What we would like to emphasize is the idea that when you understand the role that your free will plays in the creation of your experience and how you can influence, which is a word that Daniel likes to use, you can influence the quality of your life. you begin to take ownership and you begin to feel empowered in the direction of your life, so that it isn't life happening to you or your circumstances forcing you into a certain experience, though it might feel that way at times. We assure you that taking 3 deep breaths, aligning with yourself in the present moment, and just feeling into the strength and the power that exists within you will begin to help you to shift away from a feeling of victimhood and a feeling of helplessness. And it will show you skills and tools and techniques that are specific to you in your beautiful human, that will allow you to work with the challenges in a more balanced, more effective, more collaborative, more integrative way, without the judgment that is often associated with the challenges, either because they are happening to you, or because you allowed yourself to fall into it, or because dot, 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 dot. And so we again remind you, you are a powerful creator of your experience. And though life is designed, that's a word that Daniel likes to use. Let's see if we can find an alternate word that's more accurate. You are a powerful creator of your own experience. And though you are programmed or patterned into believing that things are happening a certain way, you can begin to see the edges of the film in the film strip. And you begin to recognize, oh, that's right, this is just a movie. And then that will allow you to remember and go into a deeper, more expansive understanding. And don't think that you need to work hard at this. Daniel wants us to remind you of this. Don't think that you need to work hard at this and practice this and struggle with this or implement this. The fact that you are hearing this conversation is enough for your awareness to recognize that this is a possibility for you. And at the appropriate times, your awareness will remind you to look at the edge of the film to see the film strip itself. You don't need to notice anything different or anything more than that. That recognition alone would already shift you, as Daniel says, from a 9.8 to a 9.7. And just that small incremental shift is enough to change your experience and your awareness of the challenges and situations that you are experiencing. And the more that you do that, the more easily you will find yourself recognizing the edge of the film strip and recognizing the behind the scenes that are working to make that film appear as if it's a perception of reality. And it will allow you to step into and tap into a more expansive understanding of who you are, that then allows you to experience life more easily, more fluidly, more gracefully, regardless of the challenges that your human is engaging with. Hopefully this has been helpful for you.
Yes, yes, it's been very helpful. Thank you very much. And so as we close the final summit for 2023, moving us into 2024, on a human level, it feels like it's going to be a much larger step this time in that change of seasons. So would you like to give us a little uplifting message for leaving a rough 2023 and how the new energies coming in will be able to assist us?
The energies on this beautiful planet are constantly in evolution and constantly changing. As many of you know, the energies are, again, lack of a better way of saying it, are upgrading, are up-leveling. It's not actually accurate, but again, for simplicity of language, we can use this because it's something that you can associate with. The energies are constantly changing. And for many, the following years are going to continue to be a struggle. And there will be more challenges that will present on the face of the earth. But again, the reminder is for you to recognize that just because there are challenges on the earth, it does not mean that you need to take those challenges into your experience. It isn't about denying or ignoring them, but it is about having a different perspective on them, such that it allows you to focus your experience on areas that are expansive for you and not diminishing for you, not restrictive for you. The invitation is for all of us to point ourselves, again, using language that Daniel likes to use, point ourselves in a direction of love, compassion, understanding. What this means on a day-to-day basis is when there are challenges around you, recognize that those challenges are serving a purpose. The people that are involved in those challenges are well aware of these challenges at a higher level, at a more expansive level. Their human consciousness might not agree or even want to recognize that they chose this for themselves. But again, the metaphor that Daniel has been using lately is just like the animals that agree to be your food in the devastating and depressing environments in which they are reared and slaughtered. Those animals are well aware of that life, that is the life that they are choosing because they are agreeing to provide you with sustenance. They are well aware of this experience and they are well aware of that journey. This isn't to say that we wouldn't want to change those situations so that they are more humane and more compassionate, but it does bring into the awareness that when there is a war on the other side of the planet, or even on the other side of the street, if you are not directly involved in that war, it is easier for you to maintain a higher perspective, a more expansive perspective. And that perspective will actually influence the outcome of that war, so that the people that are making the decisions in that war will have a different perspective, because their energy will be different because of your point of view and your perspective. Though they will never recognize this, not they're humans. As you allow yourself to live in a higher point of view, it then allows the energy across the entire planet to live in a higher point of view, even by a slight amount. And so the biggest benefit that you can give to the planet during the challenges that you will all experience is to, again, focus on your own internal journey, focus on your own love, focus on your own expansion, focus on your own ability to look beyond the superficial perspective and to understand the greater perspective. Nothing happens by accident. Everything is happening for a reason and for a purpose. There's part of a greater plan, and you are part of that greater plan. But again, that doesn't negate the idea of free will. The plan is shifting and the plan is malleable. The plan is organic. And we will always get to the outcome that we are collectively desiring. But how we get there is dependent on you and the choices that you make. Those of you that are energy sensitive and those of you that are aware of the changes that are happening on this planet, it makes it easier for you to feel the overwhelm of energy and to process that differently than somebody who isn't aware of what's happening on this planet. They just feel an overwhelm of energy and it manifests in them very differently than it will on you. And so those of you that are in this conversation, regardless of when it is that you're hearing this message, because it still applies to you, even if you're hearing this decades in the future, or weeks in the future, or hours in the future. Where you are within your understanding is helping the collective energy process the feelings and emotions and reactions of the world differently. And this isn't to put the weight of the world on your shoulders. That is not what we are inviting you to recognize. What we are inviting you to recognize is that, again, you are powerful beyond measure. The impact that you have on this earth and in this universe and within this dimension extends beyond this dimension. There are a lot of changes that are coming. There's a lot of predictions of within the next 10 years, or by the time that it's 2034 or 2035. And again, Daniel is not a big fan of predictions, and he would not allow us to even make one. But nonetheless, there's an element where everything is malleable and anything can change. More of you that are aligned to this direction and into this energy can shift that so that it isn't 2034 and it's actually 2027 or even 2025 or even 2024. And though the only thing that's keeping you away from that is because many of you, when I said that, went, oh no, that's too soon. Never going to happen that quickly. And so what's happening is that we are sharing with you that there's a lot of change happening in the next decade, and many of you are believing that. And so that is allowing the change to happen at a very expeditious rate that, again, has never happened on this planet at this speed. You are evolving faster than it has ever been allowed to happen. And yes, you are a big part of that evolution. You are the creators of your own creation, as the council likes to remind us. There is nothing that you cannot do, something Daniel likes to remind us. The only limitations that exist are the ideas and perceptions that we create for ourselves and the stories that we say about why things should be a certain way or are a certain way. And it's all innocent, and there's no judgment in any direction. So as we are ending 2023, trust that you are exactly doing the work. Again, a term that we don't like to use, but many of you associate with that statement. You are doing the work that is necessary for you and for the planet. You are perfectly on path. You are perfectly at the appropriate step that you need to be in. Though this might not be the
Beautiful.
answer that you were looking for, hopefully we have answered it in a different way.
Yes, you have. You have. I have one more question. So I know many of us are, there's a lot of going on the planet currently, and it's very difficult for those who are empathic and energy sensitive to see some of the tragedies that are being brought into our awareness. So my question is, our awareness by the human population wants to draw us to the tragedy part and those souls that are departing through such difficult ways. For those of us here doing the work, so to speak, would it be more beneficial every time we're being brought to the awareness of the loss to bring energy in the other side of the equation to the individuals, to the survivors? Will that help the awakening process in those areas for those people so that the connectivity can then begin to be seen?
Daniel's awareness is going to influence this answer, and we will see how far we can go beyond that. What Daniel would like us to begin with, there's a couple of areas that he is thinking about that are influencing our answer. We are waiting for his mind to settle.
I threw you a curveball.
I'm sorry, what purple?
I said I threw you a curveball.
Well, it is a topic that is of great interest to Daniel, and so he's very passionate about it. And again, as we said, he is very active in this process, and so it's easy for him to step in and jump in. And he is filtering us innocently because of that. So as we are about to start to say something, his thoughts are,
I feel like
just give us a
the
moment. Just give us a moment.
it's good. I'm giving you a moment because I'm feeling like the information you have for us in response to this is also applicable even to our own reflection in the mirror.
Yes.
So I find this question is very much not just about the global impact, but it comes down into the simplistic of even the reflection in the mirror that we personally may have conflict with. So
let's go in this direction. You have heard from some of us today and throughout this season, and from other speakers, have it be channels or teachers, that will talk about how there is no judgment one way or another. Whatever choices you make, there is no judgment. We have said that to you already today a couple of times. It isn't for us to say, do not engage in the loss and the sorrow of people that are being killed or murdered or tortured or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It is not for us to say, don't do that. What we are, let's be specific on this answer, what Daniel would like us to remind you of is that there are other perspectives to that situation that make it easier for you to experience those situations without engaging into energies that can then create a lot of limitation for you. And we're only going to speak about your individual experience and forget the consciousness, forget the universal consciousness, forget the others around you. Let's just play with you and your own experience. There's nothing wrong with engaging into the sorrow and the loss of others. In fact, that is an incredibly powerful experience to live through and to be able to experience. There's a lot of value in that experience. Where the invitation is to become aware of a different perspective, where that comes into play is in a recognition of when you are engaged in these types of emotions, your perspective becomes more limited, more narrow, more restrictive. It is more difficult for you to see beyond the obvious edges and into the more subtle realities that exist around it, the other possibilities that exist outside of the framework that you are engaged in. Like our friend Albert Einstein has said, you cannot find the answer to a solution at the level that created that problem. Those are not his words, but this is the general idea, is when you are caught up in it and when you are engaged in the emotional drama and trauma of life, you innocently become more restrictive in your ability to respond to the guidance and wisdom that is available to you constantly, which is what Marina was inviting us to recognize. And so again, there isn't any judgment if you choose to go into we'll use an example. One of Daniel's friends would spend 3 hours a day looking at all of the news about the Ukraine war because they wanted to familiarize themselves with the latest happenings of that war. She felt that in doing that, it was helping them because she was going into that with compassion and love. And though Daniel's perspective is that in doing that, she was engaging in the sorrow and the horrificness of it, and then she was applying love to that sorrow, but she was applying love to that sorrow. And so the focus is on the sorrow. And again, there is no right or wrong. This is a path that she has chosen as appropriate for her, and she can justify it. She's very expansive in her own spiritual journey, and she sees the value of that in her own experience. And so again, there's no judgment on whether or not this is what we are saying is good or bad. It's just a different experience. What many of us are inviting you to recognize is, and Daniel reminds us of a metaphor that Maitland shared with you, and this is an example that he finds is really useful to answer this question. There were fires in Canada not too long ago, and in a conversation with Jamie Butler and Maitland speaking through her, somebody asked, what can we do about helping the planet by sending love to the fires? And Maitland said something that really caught Daniel. And what he heard was, fires like war. When you feed a fire with energy, the fire takes that energy and it gets stronger. It's like blowing oxygen into a flame. The flame actually gets stronger. Now, of course, blowing out a candle is not what we are speaking about. So, of course, there's ways in which this metaphor can be broken. So please don't focus on those. But please pay attention to the kind of description that we are bringing to the surface here. If there is a fire and you apply energy to it, that fire gets really excited and says, oh, goody, 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 more energy for me to play with, more energy for me to become stronger and grow bigger. And so the invitation that Maitland shared with everybody was for you to actually elicit a greater effect on the outcome of that fire is to send your love and energy into the center of the earth. Because Gaia can manage that fire according to her requirements perfectly and beautifully. She can bring in winds to do what needs to do. She can bring in the rains to do what needs to do. She can bring in the humans to do what needs to do. And to trust and to allow her to manage the fire as best as it needs to be managed for her to experience what she is looking to experience. And wars are no different. Your internal war with yourself is no different. The war that you have with your spouse is no different. The council reminds us all the time. Again, Daniel says more recently than in the past, but the council reminds us all the time. Let's go back. A couple of years ago, when Daniel started listening to Sarah and Lana and the council, there were messages around, if you want to help somebody, send them love. That is the only thing that you can effectively do. Without any judgment, without any expectation, without any prediction of how that love is to be used, but just send them love. And more recently, that message has shifted. For you to help somebody else, send yourself love. And though for many that might not seem as powerful or as effective because it is not directed towards the individual that you are looking to help, But again, we remind you, as you send yourself love and you allow yourself to live in a non-judgmental aspect of the situation, your energy is impacting that individual in more ways than you can even fathom. Just like when you send love to the center of the earth and you allow the earth to manage her fires or to manage her wars. Hopefully this is helpful.
Yes, yes, it's very helpful. Thank you.
We feel there's
Is there
another
anything
question.
else?
We feel there's another question that wants to be asked. If somebody is willing to step forward, we can accept it, but don't feel obligated to if you don't feel comfortable.
Anybody have a question out there you wanted to ask? Type it in. We got a few more minutes.
So to answer your question, Shannon,
Mhm.
there is nothing else that we feel is necessary to be added. However, we can say it feels like a repetition, but we can say, love yourself. Give yourself the space to grow and give yourself the space to experience. Give yourself the freedom to experience the things that you have never experienced before. Many of those experiences may not be to your liking, or some of those experiences may not be to your liking. But those experiences are very helpful and very valuable in helping you to determine what direction you would like to take in your life. Daniel likes to remind people the contrast is there to help us understand what it is that we desire and what it is that really lights us up, because we recognize what we don't want. And once we recognize what we don't want, the focus is on what we do want. The energy that we put into is on what it is that we are creating that will shift our experience, not to then focus on what it is that led you to that awareness. Again, the more that you recognize this within your own experience, the easier it will be for you to play with contrasts and with challenges and to have a different perspective on them that will allow you to remain empowered in your journey and a co-creator of your experience. And it will give you the tools and the skill sets that will allow you to create the life that you dream of. Because we can assure you, whatever you can dream of is possible. You wouldn't be dreaming of it if it wasn't already part of your blueprint, for lack of a better way of saying it, as an individual. Your dreams are different than mine. Your dreams are different than Daniel's. You and Daniel are not going to dream of the same thing. Even if you go through the same challenge, the same scenario, the same circumstance, you're going to walk out of that differently because you have different preferences and different perspectives, and it will affect you, quote unquote, differently. And it is the effect that these things have on us that then drive us into directions that are aligned with who we want to become, with a greater sense of understanding of who we were that led us into that. Is there another question for us?
No, I don't see any others, and I don't have any. You ready to
Beautiful.
bring our friend back?
Absolutely. Thank you very much for allowing us to come and play with you.
We're grateful you could join us.
Oh,
You're back?
I'm back. I am back. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you for channeling for us. That was very
Absolutely.
nice.
So thank you guys all for being here with me in this process, this journey, this exploration of what it means to go beyond the edges of our own understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And so
In this session, you had 13 speakers.
13 sessions.
Yeah.
One speaker duplicated.
There you go. But you didn't channel in the other one, right? I didn't get
in
to
my
see
other,
that one.
no, I didn't channel in my conversation, no.
I only got to I got to join 4.
Yeah.
So I'll catch the rest on the replays. But
So thank you guys all for being here. If anybody has anything, feel free to put it in the chat, raise your hand, unmute yourself. If not, that's okay. I can always bring this conversation to an end. Just wanted to give you guys an opportunity to share something if you like.
that great big black cat next to me who's just like,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
you
thank you
enjoyed
guys.
it this time, didn't you?
All right. So I will leave you guys for now. Thank you very much for everything. I'll hopefully see you guys again in season 8, but don't forget that there's a live Q&A in a couple weeks for anybody that contributes to the platform for this season. And that is led by me, but any of the speakers are always welcome to come, and sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. But so that's the last part of the season, so to speak. So the replays will come out in a couple days. So tomorrow is a day when I kind of rest and recuperate a little bit, and I start working on the replays tomorrow. And then I make the day 1 available in 2 days, and then day 3 in 3 days. Sorry, day 2 in 3 days, etc.
You want to stop the recording
I do. Yes, I will stop the recording.
now?
So thank you
I
again.
was just checking.
Yeah, I'm aware that we're still recording.
Okay.
So thank you guys for being here. Really appreciate it. It's always an honor to come and play with you guys and to be part of this journey with you, and to bring you information that hopefully allows you to wake up to something different within you. That's really the goal of this. To get you to go, oh yeah, that would be cool. And to then reflect on this. Kind of allow something to begin to wake up within you, and then just kind of sit with it and see where it goes, see how it evolves. It might go nowhere, and it might open you up even more. So with that, I will leave you guys for the season, for the live sessions of the season, the primary sessions. I'll leave you guys with being spirit, being human, simply being from love, and I will see you guys next season. Bye-bye. Thank you for being part of this incredible experience. We hope that this session has inspired a new level of understanding within you, allowing you to expand more easily into the essence of your true self and become an even more powerful alchemist in your own life. We invite you to listen to the session again and again in order to go deeper each time and expand even more. Have it be via the replays or the unlimited access package. If you have enjoyed being part of this event, we invite you to tell your friends so that they can join us in the future. We are grateful that you are here, and we thank you for co-creating this experience with us. Until next time, we leave you with being spirit, being human, and simply being from love.